What's up, y'all? Will here at Schedule Fly, and this is the Restaurant Owners Uncorked podcast, brought to you by us here at Schedule Fly. Simple restaurant employee scheduling software backed by legendary customer service. If you're on Excel, pencil and paper, give us a shot. We'll make life easier. Scheduling manager is going to save a ton of time creating the schedule and managing all the changes. Staff will be happy, makes life easier for them. And you'll save on labor costs and a lot of other cool things. So give us a shot, schedulefly.com, 30-day free trial. And also brought to you by Pop Menu and Kickfin, our sponsors, great companies, and you'll hear more about both of them shortly. So this episode is with a cool dude that I got to speak with the first time, Oscar Hines. He's a partner at Dashi in North Charleston, South Carolina. They've been open a few years. And yet again, this is several times recently where we've had somebody that I asked, how and when they got started in the restaurant business. And almost always it's, I was washing dishes at 14 or some derivation of that. But Oscar has had a winding, an interesting career in several different things, so including being an attorney. So he is a super interesting guy. He's very smart. He's very engaging, very thoughtful dude. And I thoroughly enjoy talking to him. And I know you're going to enjoy listening. So check out this episode. But before we hear from Oscar, let's hear from our lead sponsor and Schedule Fly partner, Pop Menu. Check it out. Pop Menu is, they're a partner of Schedule Fly, and we have a lot of happy mutual customers. But Pop Menu is all about making your day easier and your sales bigger. They will simplify your marketing operations, bring in more guests, capture customer data for personalized remarketing to keep them coming back. With one super simple to use platform that integrates with most point of sales like Toast and Square and a number of others, Pop Menu starts with a beautifully designed, easy to update interactive menu that transforms the guest experience online. It includes a brand new website that's optimized for search engines like Google for no additional cost, automated digital marketing, online ordering and waitlisting, and you'll never miss another call with their AI answering solution that costs as little as 47 cents an hour. Check it out. Check out the link in our show notes. There's so much more in Pop Menu. Here's my 2 cents. I've talked to a lot of our mutual customers, and here's what they say about Pop Menu. Great company, great customer service, great product, great results. Check out Pop Menu and check out this episode of Restaurant Owners Uncorked. Thank you all for listening. Oscar, thank you for taking the time to do this today.
Yeah, thanks for the invitation. So far, so good with Schedule Fly, too. Congrats on that. How long have you been doing that?
16 years.
16, Jesus.
Yep. I tell you what, do me a favor, introduce yourself real quick, and then we can talk about that a little bit for sure.
Sure. My name's Oscar Hines. I'm a partner in Dashi restaurant in North Charleston.
Awesome. And when did y'all open?
We opened the brick and mortar just over 4 years ago.
Just over 4 years ago? Okay, good deal. So, and I always like to start out with this question. When and why did you get started in hospitality?
Well, it's kind of a winding road. So I had moved to Charleston, was working in the golf industry, actually. And while I was doing that, I started a culinary tour company in Charleston called Charleston Culinary Tours, which is still running, although I'm not involved. And as part of that, we worked with a number of restaurants, chefs and restaurants, and took our guests around. And one of the chefs was my current partner in Dashi, a guy named Stephen Thompson. He was the executive chef at Prohibition Restaurant in downtown Charleston. And so he and I worked together a lot. We had this really cool tour where a chef met us at the farmer's market downtown with the group. We picked out ingredients. He took the ingredients to his restaurant and then made a meal, for when we got there an hour later. It was a multi-course meal. And Stephen always did a great job. So one day he mentioned, hey, I think I'd like to start a food truck and explore paella. I said, well, your food is really great. I'd love to go in on it with you. I love steam buns. Nobody in Charleston really does steam buns, so let's do steam buns and paella. And that was kind of the genesis for it. So that's, kind of when I got started. I kind of got started hospitality with a culinary tour, and then I really embraced it once we started the food truck, which eventually morphed into a restaurant.
Well, I got to tell you, man, that's I can't tell you how many times it's like 9 out of 10, 9.5 out of 10. I asked that question. The person's like, well, I was bussing, tables at age 14 or whatever. So that's a cool origin story. That's a unique origin story. You've and congratulations on, I didn't know y'all had been open for 4 years, man. That's especially over the last 4 years, if you've been able to open when you did in the last 4. Well done.
It was a weird one. I mean, we opened the restaurant, and then we opened in July and humming along. And then the following March, the pandemic kind of hit. And then we shut down for a long time. We didn't completely shut down. We shut down the dining room. And it was super scary. It was scary to open a restaurant. It was super scary to essentially close a restaurant. Made it through.
Were you, I mean, was there a time when you're thinking, what in the world did I just get myself into?
Oh, sure. I mean, we'd run the food truck. We've had the food truck for, I think, 8 years. So we'd run the food truck for a while before we opened the restaurant. But they're just two totally different things. And the amount of money that you expend in a restaurant is, 10, 15, 20, 100 times. I don't know. It's so much more expensive than a food truck. And so I don't know that this is atypical, but it just seemed like we were hemorrhaging money. Like we were super busy, but we just didn't have any control over our expenses. And so, yeah, there was a long period of time. By long, I mean probably 3 to 6 months where I was like, oh my God, what's happening? And then, so that was scary. And then just when we kind of come to terms with that and we're looking forward to spring and we think, things are really going to be great, then the pandemic hits. And once again, I think, oh my God, am I going to lose everything? I mean, it's not like we don't have access to public capital markets. I mean, we're exhausting our life savings to do this. So it was terrifying.
Well, that was my next question. I mean, so did you get any outside investors, or did y'all just fund it yourselves?
So basically, we funded it ourselves. So it's me, Stephen has some equity, another woman who's been with us for essentially since the beginning, Nikki has some equity. And then like my mother's an investor. Her husband's son is an investor. And that's it. So it's not like we brought anybody in. I mean, my mother and this other guy, Phil, are new additions, but, they were just trying to help us out. And the way that we could do that is essentially give them some equity that they probably don't want, but, to justify an investment.
So you had a lot on the line, man.
Yeah, I got a lot on the line. I mean, it's worked out, but it's, I don't know that's atypical. It's hard with restaurants to get funding, especially when you're starting out. Yeah. And nobody wants to talk to you. And the only lenders that will talk to you are, they're predatory lenders. So they're going to take advantage of you and make it much harder on your journey. So, I mean, I was pretty leveraged, and I've been fortunate that, we can get ahead of it a little bit. But yeah, it was a petrifying situation.
Well, I mean, dude, that's it's hard when you're under that amount of stress and duress to then run. I mean, it's hard enough to run a successful restaurant. When you guys started, when you did, leveraging yourselves, your own savings, and all that stuff, and then getting through the pandemic, dude, that is like, I don't know if you've stopped to think about that, if you've even had time, but that's a massively impressive thing that you and Stephen accomplished, man. I mean, seriously, like that's very atypical for people that started particularly because you didn't have 3 decades owning and running restaurants, to lean on, right? So I tip my hat, man. That's badass.
Well, thanks. It's kind of you to say that. I try not to think about it because I don't want to dwell on all the reckless risks I take in in my business life. But you take a swing. I mean, Stephen is great at making food taste good. I mean, he is really an amazing chef, and I just had a lot of faith in him. And through the food truck, we kind of demonstrated that it resonated with people, and the food was consistently great under very difficult conditions. And so the restaurant seemed like the next extension in that path.
So you're in North Charleston?
Yeah, North Charleston on Remount Road.
Okay. Is that an exit off of 26?
Remount Road is an exit off 26. We're on the other side of Remount down from 26. So we're kind of near, I like to say we're Park Circle adjacent. So we aren't in Park Circle in North Charleston. We're on the other side of the freeway. We're actually closer to Hanahan than we are to Park Circle probably, but we're in this little pocket. And it's a weird spot. I mean, it's a weird area. The reason we're here is because we could afford it. And so, we figured with the food truck, people had come to see us at a lot of really odd locations. And we thought, well, maybe if we open a restaurant in a really odd location, people come to see us too. And they have, but it's, once you get here, you're like, oh, this is not too bad. But when you're coming here, you're like, I don't know what's happening.
So you've been able to get them to come. Is there a lot of growth moving? I mean, Charleston is just exploding with growth. Is a lot of it coming in that direction?
Yeah, I think so. This is definitely a transitional area. So, it's not kind of in the heart of Park Circle, like I said. It's not really on Rivers Avenue, which is what most people see on Remount Road and off that exit off 26. But, there's been a lot of good things happen in this area. I feel like, probably the restaurant has helped contribute to that. The housing stock here is pretty, it's ready for a redo. There are a lot of smaller single family homes that young families that we've met have come in, and they'll, they've been able to move in, and it's like starter homes for them, which is good. But yeah, there's a lot of good things happening here. It's maybe trailing the rest of Charleston a little bit, but it's coming.
That's probably a good thing. Yeah, you're on the front end of that. Did you all buy your building or are you leasing?
We did end up buying. So that's part of how I raised money is we were able to buy the building, and then we sold. So I retained half of the building, and then we sold the other half of the building through a separate entity to my mom. This guy, Phil, I mentioned earlier, my partner, the chef's parents, bought into the building. And then I funneled all that money back into the restaurant.
Dude, that is so smart. That's awesome. I mean, owning a building there. Oh man, good. Well done. Good long play for real estate where you are. Absolutely.
Yeah. That's kind of what we hoped, is that we would be able to hedge our bet a little bit. So even if the restaurant floundered or a pandemic happened or something, we would, if we had needed an exit plan quick, we would be able just to sell the building and hopefully recoup most of our costs. So, that was a little bit of assurance there. Obviously we don't want to do that, but it was just like a tiny bit of peace of mind.
Yeah, for sure. And gosh, over the next, 10, 20 years, it's a good thing to own a building down where you are. And, you're not going to have to deal with, gosh, I talked to a lot of people that they may have been in a place for, just lease negotiations, a big freaking deal, and you got to get that right. And if, you could be in a place for a really long time and be very successful there, and landlord gets an offer, and then, so good. Awesome. Well, what's been, I'm curious coming into this, with the background you had, obviously having Stephen to lean on is great, and he's making great food, but tell me about just some of the learning curve stuff that's been, I don't know, maybe surprising to you or not what you expected with running a restaurant.
Well, staffing's been the biggest concern. I think everyone's had trouble with staffing post-pandemic. The labor market was incredibly tight pre-pandemic for us. And then, so that just intensified through the pandemic. And we've actually seen some glimmers of hope in the last 6 weeks, I would say. But just how difficult it has been to find qualified, dependable staff. So that's, the staffing load here isn't gigantic. We're Scratch Kitchen. We do a tremendous amount of stuff by hand. There's an incredible amount of prep work for a restaurant this size. And it's been a constant struggle to find staff, so that the principals in the restaurant, while we all work a lot, it's not sustainable if we're working 70, 80, 90 hours a week for 3 or 4 or 5 years. You just burn out. So, we've struggled with that. So that's definitely the number one thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine. I mean, I particularly in a place like Charleston, I mean, there's just so many good restaurants down there, and only so many people that are going to want to go work in those, and that are quality people. Do you look more for experience, or do you look more for the type of person and then train them up on how to serve or whatever?
Really, we've had the most success with people who are just motivated, who want to learn, who are amenable to instruction, who have a good work ethic. We've had some success with people who come in. Our model's easy to administer front of house because we're counter service. So we don't have, wait staff. We essentially have 3 front of house positions. We have a person who runs the counter. We have a runner busser, and we have a bartender. And our bar program is pretty light, so we try to keep it simple so that other people can jump in. But the back of house, really, people with knife skills, people who are able to plan and manage and delegate and supervise. I mean, those have been really critical positions that have been difficult to fill.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I noticed that I love your website, and I noticed that y'all use Pop Menu.
Yeah.
They are I was literally 2 days ago, I was in Atlanta meeting with them. So they're a partner of ours.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's almost, I went to your site. I'm like, oh, this looks awesome. And I scroll down. I was like, well, it's a Pop Menu site. That's great.
What's your relationship with Pop Menu? Like, what's the synergy there?
It's a great question. I can answer that in a short way or a long way. Probably that, we haven't done partnerships. And like I said, we've been doing this 16 years. And we've been very, very reticent to do any partnerships, just because partnership meaning that, like, it's not a formal, there's no tie-ins or anything like that with the technology. It's just, we share what they're doing with our customers, and they share what they're doing, or what we're doing with their customers. They're actually a sponsor of this podcast. So when I post this episode, on the front end of it, you'll hear me do a little ad for Pop Menu. When I first spoke to them, that there's a guy named John Piccirillo there, and he's their head of partnerships, and he's a phenomenal dude. And our first introductory phone call, I was just wanting to learn what they were doing. And, I'd heard about them and heard good things. We had some mutual customers, and I thought an introductory phone call would be 10 minutes. I think he and I talked for like an hour, and we just really hit it off. Good dude. And so I wanted to go down there and meet with them and learn more about what they're doing. And then I went down to Atlanta and met with Brendan Sweeney, who's the CEO there, and had him on the podcast. And just hearing his passion and the way he views what they're doing and what his vision is for helping restaurants, I was like, man, this is a really good company. I like them a lot. And everybody I came across, I just, had a good feeling. And I talked to a lot of, of course, went and talked to a lot of mutual customers. I said, well, tell me about Pop Menu. And they're like, man, it's a great product. They take great care of us, And so we kind of ease into that being our first ever, like, real partnership. So if you log in now onto the desktop version of Schedulefly, there's a little tab. One of our static tabs is S-Fly Partners, and they're one of 2 companies on there. So that was a synergy. I mean, they're serving a lot of the same types of restaurants as we are, independent restaurants, and so it just was a good fit, good cultural fit, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I really like Pop Menu. I mean, I didn't realize they were a sponsor, but I'm going to have kind of a fanboy moment. I mean, they've, you know, I I will say, and I have a tiny bit of trepidation with Pop Menu. It's a really great product, right? But I've had other software products that have been really great products, and then they grow to a certain point where they don't become a great product. Pop Menu is in this phase where they've been tremendous, and everything I want more than I can anticipate. I mean, they're on it, and they're modifying, and they're customizing, and it's incredible. And then I just hope they don't get to the point where they go public and there's more regulatory scrutiny, or they become so large that they become bureaucratic, and they become calcified in a way. And then you say, hey, what about this? Well, those procedures have changed, and it's more robust scrutiny now. Or no, we have to run this by the team of engineers because we can't make that change. We're just a handful. But to this point, I mean, we've used Pop Menu in pretty innovative ways, I think. It's helped us grow our business a lot, and it's really been a first-class company to work with. So I'd love to continue that relationship as far forward as we possibly can. I just hope they're not a victim of their own success at some point.
I love the way you think, and that is exactly what happens with so many fast-growing software businesses. I am, who knows, but I would push my chips in pretty hard that that's not going to happen, because I understand their culture and the way they're running that business, and I know the folks that are behind it, and they're super aware of that. I mean, who knows, things can change or whatever. Yeah, when you go public, then it does get, so my guess is, I mean, that, who knows if that'll happen. That would probably be some time off, but that's cool that you articulated that, because I will, like, they'll listen to this. So it's a good thing to hear. And what I heard is somebody that cares so much and is so happy with what you're getting, that you just don't want it to go away. That's a great message for a company to hear. Like, they would love to hear that kind of messaging, and that's important. So that's really cool, man. I'll make sure that to pass this along so that they
Please do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm really happy with those guys. I mean, they've been great. And I do think, I mean, who knows what's in the heart of men or corporations, especially, but I do think that they have a customer service orientation. That's gone through with me. And I feel like other software companies, I don't know for sure, but you kind of get the impression that their development of a software platform that is really useful to restaurants is aligned with their mission to go public within a certain time frame and then make as much money as they possibly can. I get the impression from Pop Menu that their genesis was not part of a 5 or 10 year plan to go public and make a lot of money. That their genesis was, we want to help restaurants because we really care about the industry. And then if good things arise as a result of that, then that's great. But that's not the primary objective, is to cash out. So that's kind of what I've seen from my perspective, just that the way that they enhance. I mean, they've enhanced their platform so much in ways that have been really meaningful to me, but it's just a value add. It's not like they're charging more money for these services. They're just saying, we're going to enhance your business for the same cost. And it's been a tremendous value. But I think it illustrates kind of their commitment to customer service and enhancing the sector versus just trying to make as much money as they possibly can in a short amount of time.
I agree. That we've been in discussions with a couple of other potential partners, and my way of really trying to, like, we're so careful about that. It's so important to us. There's just no way we're going to partner with certain companies, because you can tell that standard sort of playbook roadmap is the path. Zero chance. I don't, fine, do your thing, but no way we're going to position that to our customers. So it's been cool because I get to go have, like, our processes evolved into this. Hey, how about I come meet with the CEO and share your story on our podcast? We have a really large podcast audience, so it's a great way for you to get your story out. And that's where we really kind of get to know, okay, you can tell, you sit across the table for an hour with a CEO and hear their story and try to dig and probe, and you really learn what they're all about. And it's been a good way for us to kind of, help us make decisions on that kind of stuff. So we have a couple others that we're working with that I feel great about, where we feel great about those companies, and we'll see. So,
all right, y'all, time for a little mid-episode break to talk about Kickfin, our mid-episode sponsor and a great business. Thousands of restaurants, bars, and breweries use Kickfin to tip out their employees instantly, no cash required. With Kickfin, tips go directly to your employer's bank of choice the second their shift ends. It's a really simple solution to a really big problem, because if you're still paying out credit card tips in cash, it's costing you. Time-consuming bank runs and cash counting take managers away from work that matters. Cash is hard to track, which leads to accounting headaches, and it creates the perfect opportunity for theft, human error, and compliance issues. Bottom line, there's never been an instant, secure way to pay out tips until Kickfin. It's an easy-to-use software that sends real-time cashless tip payouts straight to your employees' bank accounts 24/7, 365. Kickfin gives managers hours back in their day, makes reporting a breeze, and protects your business from risk. Most importantly, employees love it. Restaurants can have Kickfin up and running overnight. Employees can enroll in seconds. No hardware, no contracts, no setup fees. Visit kickfin.com for a personalized demo and see how restaurants across the country are digitizing tips with Kickfin. That's what they like me to read. I will tell you this. I know the folks at Kickfin. Check out the episode with Brian Hassan, the co-CEO of Kickfin, was on here on the podcast. Great people, love what they do. They treat their customers well. We have mutual customers that love the product and love the way the relationship they have with Kickfin. So check it out, link in the show notes, and let's check out the rest of this episode.
Well, Prohibition, Stephen was there. That's been, they have been a long time customer. I actually came down there a couple of years back, did a podcast interview with Ray and Alexa down there at Prohibition. And
sure.
Do you know them?
I know Ray. I don't know Alexa. Prohibition is really, it's not that dissimilar. I mean, they have a much bigger bar program and they've changed a lot. But, they back in the day when I was doing the culinary tour, I had a group that was doing that Saturday morning farmers market tour, and Prohibition was our destination. So I was bringing the group in, and there was a young woman there, and she was walking through the door with her grandparents. And she says, I think I was here last night and it was a dance club.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And of course, they've changed a lot, and they've got a tremendous bar scene. So I'm envious of that. But what's funny about Prohibition back then was it was a place that you would go, and it had unexpectedly good food. It was really, really great. And Steve was doing a great job in the kitchen. And it was a place that consistently impressed guests because it exceeded their expectations on the food side.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like, that's one thing I like about what we're doing here is it's in a weird location. It's kind of a funky setup. It's counter service. It's this odd mismatch of cultures and cuisines. But I feel like our food consistently exceeds people's expectations. It's a good value. But it's like, wow, this is really good. And there's just some magic in that. So that's something that Prohibition did a great job of. And, it's something we aspire to here.
Love it, man. Love it. Well, you started out, I will circle back to something because you said, how long you asked about Schedule Fly. So yes, we've been doing this 16 years. And thank you for using it. And thank you for the nice comment about it. We have 5 people here, self-funded the business. We've had the same 5 guys for 16 years, and no outside investors, word of mouth growth, no salespeople. Our focus has always been and will always be keep the software really simple and reliable. And if somebody needs something, as we say, our tagline is simple software and legendary customer service. Like that's it. That foundation is what we have operated on all this time. It's will never change. My personal cell phone is right there on our public facing website. Like if you call me or text me, you're going to get me. If I'm driving somewhere, then one of the other guys is going to get the word and help. Like it's super, super important to us. And honestly, we've learned we always knew we wanted to do that, but we've gotten better at it and been inspired by the industry that we serve, because we serve independent restaurants. We don't have any chains. And so we really learn from you all about how important it is to make people feel good. Like they will remember how you make them feel, right? So if you go above and beyond and make every interaction really positive, and you're helpful and you're authentic, and you just go outside of your way to make sure the customer gets what they want, or that they get a quick response or whatever, that's what y'all do so well. And we're like, man, this is like, how can you not do that? You kind of touched on that. Like, if you're serving restaurants, that should be your focus. Like the other stuff should take care of itself, if the growth and everything else, but like, that's what you focus on, not how do we hit quarterly numbers so we can please investors, so we can go public and make a lot of money. Like restaurant people see through that pretty fast.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you're right. Although it is easy to be our culture is changing so fast. It's easy to be kind of pessimistic. And I actually even see it in the restaurant industry, like the customer service side, where, like I love being in the restaurant. And so I'm a recovering lawyer, practiced law for about 10 years. And I didn't really understand. I didn't like practice of law because I didn't like dealing with people in crisis all the time. And it took me a long time to kind of realize why I had gravitated to food and beverage or hospitality generally, is I like enhancing people's lives. Like I like giving people showing them a good experience. So I love being in the restaurant and just talking to people, not in an obsequious way, but just, saying hi. And so I stand at the counter a lot to just ask, how are you doing? And it stuns people sometimes that they're like, well, why's this guy talking to me? But it's so rare, I think, in restaurants, especially restaurants like this where it's counter service, that somebody gives a crap. And so I worry a little bit about that ethos in food and beverage and hospitality, that it's not very hospitable anymore. And then to your point, you build relationships with company, but sure, you're concerned at times about, well, so-and-so has access to public capital markets and has 50,000 engineers. Are they going to come up with something that it's undeniable how great it is? And it's just, it's this, no amount of customer service can overcome that. So I don't know. I mean, it's an interesting time.
I tell you what, man, we literally have absolutely run into, there's been over $500 million invested into competitive companies over the last 8 to 10 years. And here's the thing. Just like I look at this, the way we look at our business, the same way as you might look at yours, is we're not right for everybody. We can't serve everybody. People have different needs, but there are always people that like a simple tool and a great relationship with a small company that takes great care of them. Always have been, always will be. How large is that audience? I don't know. But so far it's enough to, for us to have a nice, profitable business, right? I mean, there is so much technology out there, but here's what happens is, to your point, you nailed it. When you've got 500 engineers, that software is going to go from being simple to more stuff, to more bells and whistles, to more, and then all of a sudden it's 50 bells and whistles and 5 times as expensive as it was when you started, and 5 times or 100 times harder to use. And you're like, man, I don't need, so there's people that want and need that. And then there's people that I just want a simple tool. And that's our niche. Like I draw bright lines around that. There's tens of thousands of restaurants out there to this day that are on, pencil and paper or Excel. We're a great solution for them. People that, if you got 15, 20, 30 locations, 40 locations, and you need all this other stuff and all this data to flow all over the place, we're not right. I wouldn't even try to tell you we're right for you. That's not who there's other options for that. So we have a niche, stick in our niche. And I think for your situation, like, here's the thing. It's funny you said that about asking people how they're doing and they're like surprised. Every time I get a phone call, somebody's like, hey, I need to change my credit card. Or, I mean, we get so few calls that it's easy to manage them. And I'll, if they're real busy, I'll just kind of just make sure I get it done. But I always say, hey, while I've got you, thank you for your business. We're proud to serve you and we appreciate you. And I mean that. And I can't tell you how many times, Oscar, somebody, it stops them in their tracks. It's almost like a nervous laugh, or like, oh, yeah, of course, Will. Yeah. Like they can't even believe that I thanked them, which is fascinating to me. Like, really? Like, but for you and for us and for people that get that in hospitality, that means the bar is so low that if you just do the things that like we would think are just natural, normal things, you kind of blow people away and you make them feel good and they want to come back. That's
true. Although I do find in our setting, because of the staffing concerns, there is, especially not to sound like an old guy, but for younger people, they've absorbed that ethos of I don't give a crap in a lot of dining venues. So that's their expectation. And we try to reorient them, but it's difficult and it doesn't always happen. And, that's been a consistent challenge. I mean, we're counter service, small restaurant. Somebody walks through the door, I want them to be greeted. It doesn't have to be, hey, not over the top. It's just, hey, thanks for coming in, or how are you, or hi. And it's hard to get people that just start with our staff to do that. And they feel awkward. It's a little bit weird. They probably haven't been greeted when they go into a restaurant very often, but it's something that we really care about. And it's hard to get that message across sometimes. So, and I don't think these are bad people that are coming to work here. I just think there's a different set of expectations that's developing that makes it tough.
When you've got a generation that grew up, texting and Snapchatting and not talking, as much. I mean, my daughter's got a job as a hostess at a restaurant this summer. And I was just joking the other day. I'm like, man, because she answers the phones, right? I was like, you've talked on the phone more this summer than you probably ever have, right? I mean, they don't talk on the phone, right? So it's just, it's a different, it's that person to person communication, verbal communication, and then the looking them in the eyes and all that kind of stuff is, it's an education curve for this generation. It's an interesting challenge. I agree. If you can pull it off, everybody loves when you're greeted with a smile and some level of presentness, even if you're not used to it, it resonates, I think. I
agree.
Yeah. What else is going on, man? What do you do with if you have free time, what do you do with your free time?
Well, it's pretty limited. It's a big job running a restaurant, and and thinking about the path forward and everything else. I play golf a little bit when I can. I actually just took a quick 4-day trip last week. I take a trip every year to upstate New York and play golf with my brother and 2 friends of ours. So I did that. So that's the primary thing. But, we're involved with the restaurant here. We have a relationship with King of Pops, which is a popsicle company out of Atlanta. I really like those guys. We run popsicle carts here in Charleston. And then we also have the food truck that still goes out on a occasional basis, mostly for special events. And we've started this thing. It's a paella party, but it's a paella service that we do offsite. That's a lot of fun. We do that. And so, I like to stay busy and build the business here. So that's honestly occupies a lot of my time.
I got you, man. I got you. Do you, I always just like to ask this to people if I remember, do you listen to podcasts?
I do. I listen to podcasts pretty extensively. I gotta be honest, I haven't listened to yours, but I'll start. There's so many out there, but kind of in the ringer verse. So I listen to Bill Simmons and I listen to Slate podcasts, and then those are the primary podcasts I listen to now. I'm a big NBA basketball fan, so I listen to a lot of NBA stuff.
LeBron or Jordan?
Jordan, but it's hard not to acknowledge LeBron's greatness.
Special, amazing, unique talent for sure. But if you had one dude and you're like, I got to base the team like this, I want this guy to drive everybody else around him to win this championship. It's hard to argue against Jordan. But
oh my God, yeah, of course. Jordan was in his heyday when I was a younger person. I mean, he was a god. So
yeah,
he's an incredible player. Yeah, you can't. It's hard to argue if you've seen him. I didn't have the good fortune to see him in person, but if you've just seen season after season of his dominance and brilliance, I mean, it's hard to argue against him.
I'm the same, man. I mean, I'm 49. I grew up with Jordan, and I just but you're right. I mean, you're kind of like splitting hairs, like at the top of the heap at that point with those two for sure. So Bill Simmons, what a story he is. I remember when he was like a writer for ESPN, like he wrote this funny column, like for ESPN, like 20 years ago. And we were like, my buddies we were like, God, this guy's hilarious. He was called the sports guy, I think it was.
Yeah.
And he's parlayed that into this I mean, it's amazing. What a cool story. Are you a Celtics fan?
I'm not necessarily a Celtics fan. When I grew up, for some reason, I loved Patrick Ewing, and I just thought he was amazing. And so I was just a kid when he was in college, and then I became a Knicks fan. Not that I had any real allegiance to the Knicks, but again, Patrick Ewing. And now I'm an interested observer. I don't have any fandom. There's no NBA teams here in South Carolina, and I'm not really a Hornets fan. But I really enjoy the sport. So it's actually a great advantage to me is I get home from the restaurant during the basketball season. I just flip it on. I catch maybe the last few minutes of the East Coast game, and I watch the West Coast game, and I don't care who's playing. I just enjoy the sport.
Good. Well, I have to say I recommend our podcast. We have a lot of, we've done almost your push. I don't know what episode, but we're almost at 500. So we've done a lot of episodes over the years, and we've been really fortunate to have so many people that just own and run independent restaurants like you that take the time to come on and share and educate and inspire. I love doing it. I used to think I wanted to run a restaurant one day, own a restaurant one day. I think now I just want to talk to people who do it. I don't think I have it in me.
Smart. That's smarter.
Yeah, but I love the industry. I truly do. It's such a great industry full of amazing people that have so much passion, and hospitality is just what an amazing thing to want to welcome people. Like you just talked, like you want people to have a good time. You want to welcome them into your home and show them a good time and make them smile and have them leave and say, man, that was cool. I want to go back and I want to tell my friends about it. And a lot of great people in this industry. So we want to support it every way we can. So I appreciate you adding value to the process and helping other folks. And we got people that say they listen to it for therapy because they feel like, God, this is so hard right now. And then they listen to other people having the same problem and it makes them feel better. That's like, oh, I'm not alone. And then we have people we've had people that have come on and listened and learned and then gone and taken what they learned to start their own restaurant. And, and I mean, not that this was where they learned it all, but it's, can be inspiring too. So I really appreciate the time. I know you're a busy guy, so I'll let you roll, but thank you for doing this. Thank you for the business. And please pass that on to your team too. We appreciate you.
All right, will do. Yeah, nice to meet you. And I will pick up. I'll start listening to the podcast. And yeah, I appreciate the invitation. I enjoyed the conversation.
Absolutely, Oscar. All right, man. Have a good one. I'll let you know when we get this thing posted. Probably be sometime next week.
All right, sounds good. Thanks a lot, Will.
See you.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Hey, y'all, before you sign out on this episode, a couple of quick things. Number one, if you listen to us on iTunes, if you could give us a star rating and a comment, it would help so much. Same thing if you're on Spotify, follow us, or any platform that you're on, if you would just do whatever their rating or follow options are. What that does is it tells the algorithms that this content is good and meaningful and valuable, and it'll it'll tell them to put it in front of more people. So thank you for doing that. If you take the second to do that, that'd be so awesome. And also, if your restaurant is either using Excel or you're using some software that's expensive and has a lot of bells and whistles you don't need, or maybe doesn't have great customer service, we'd love to take care of you at ScheduleFly. Simple, easy restaurant employee scheduling software, legendary customer service, 30-day free trial, schedulefly.com. My cell phone number's on the trial sign-up page. Thank you for listening. See ya.